Hello everyone, Nick here, and welcome to my review of The Serpent, Episode 2, the second episode of the BBC and Netflix television series inspired by the true events of the poisoner and killer and con artist Charles Sobergy and his accomplices, including Marie-Andrée Leclerc in this television series played by the lovely Jenna Coleman. So, Episode 2. This episode focuses on Marie-Andrée Leclerc's point of view for the most part of the episode, as well as continuing the investigation into the, at first, disappearance and then later murder of the Dutch couple we were introduced into with the last episode, which prompted the investigation by Herman, I believe is the character. So this episode, it does mostly focus on Marie's point of view, and it is good to see how she joins Charles and how everything builds up. I also like how we kind of get her thought process in this episode, how her real self isn't quite certain about doing all of this. However, when she takes the name Monique, which is like a cover name, like Charles's is Aiden, I think, Aiden or Aidn, something along those lines. It's supposed to be French, I think, as Charles is French Vietnamese and French Vietnamese Indian, and Marie is French Canadian. But yeah, the front persona fake identity side of her is completely okay with this, but the real version of her is kind of like uncertain. So I liked how we get to have a look inside Marie's mind, and how we see her join Charles out of love and companionship and just more or less go with it. I mean, last episode she looked pretty comfortable, pretty fine, just going along with it anyway. It seemed like a norm. This was business as usual. Whilst here we kind of get to see that there is a bit more to it. There is a bit more guilt and a bit more uncertainty inside her, and even some of the scenes from the previous episode that we saw, like at the very start, some of them have a slight different context with Marie's all internal thoughts, and when she writes down in her diary or her book or letters or something, it's a nice contrast to what we see in the last episode, and it shows Marie having a bit more of a humanity than what we may have initially thought in the previous episode. I'm uncertain whether Marie actually killed anyone herself, but she is definitely involved with poisoning and murdering and stealing, etc. Not necessarily, like I said, not necessarily actually killing anyone herself, but definitely involved in covering up the murders and helping dispose of the bodies, etc., as well as leading people to said deaths. But I think the way the episode handles her progression is well done. But I will say this: I think there should have been a bit more in the middle that would have showed her going from that person who's a little bit unsure, very unsure to begin with, but becoming more confident, as we've seen in the first episode. She's still got that kind of uncertainty side alongside that in the bits that would take place when that episode airs. There's a tiny little fly in this room. How did that get in here? But I would have liked to have seen a little bit more progression into her more confident side that we've seen in the previous episode. Maybe we'll get that in episode 3. There's that bastard. Please ignore it. I can't. Frick. Right. Meanwhile, the Dutch embassy person continues his investigation, and he starts to find leads to both Charles and Marie. With Charles, it's being a French jewelry person that he finds out through the Belgian contact, Belgian embassy contact, played by Tim McInnery. And late also finding out about a French woman kind of making accusations about Charles, which is probably Marie, although we didn't really see her go to the police station or the British embassy, as it turns out, to make these accusations. So that might be saved for another episode, or that was cut. I was actually expecting to see that scene at some point, perhaps a more earlier on one, but then she again gets more confident and more involved in what's going on, and then that's where we find the character she was in the previous episode. That's what I thought we were going to get, but we didn't get that, so, unless that's coming in a later episode. But yeah, eventually, Embassy Guy finds this other couple who might have some information about Charles and Marie and their associates. We'll find out with the next episode, maybe. See how it goes. Overall, I think episode 2 was a pretty great episode. I think it's a little bit better than episode 1 because it does dive into that into the character growth and mindset of Marie. And I think the investigation side also carries on pretty good. Once again, the episodes don't really stick to specific times. They keep going back and forth. But when we are focusing on certain characters in certain times, or even other times, the character stuff is done really well. It's just a shame that it doesn't focus on specific times long enough to make it not as disjointed, because it does feel like it's going back and forth so much, as I mentioned in the last review. I think it's better handled this time around because we're more invested in the characters a bit more, following the events, following episode 1, setting them up, and episode 2 diving into Marie, her mindset a bit more, and following her journey, and with the investigation carrying on. So I think episode 2 is a step up from episode 1 in terms of a character. I'm not saying episode 1 was bad. As I said, I thought that was a very good start. I think episode 2 is a slight step up to for the characters and the story and such. The only kind of disappointment is that Charles doesn't give an awful lot of reason for Marie to kind of fall in love with him. He's a little bit blank. Maybe the whole stuff of her maybe starting to get more confident and go from the woman we see earlier on in this episode to becoming the woman we see in the most of the previous episodes. Perhaps then we could have understood why she would stick with Charles, because she then grows more confident. We might see some more of this in later episodes. On the whole, I think the Serpent episode 2 is a great episode in this dramatization, and is a good step forward in where we're taking the series. I shall be giving it a 9 out of 10. I gave this one a 9 instead of an 8 because I thought the characterization was really well done with the story, which puts it up a little bit of a step up to episode 1, which was already a good start. But I think episode 2 manages to take that an extra step forward. Will it be this high on the... I'm going to do a ranking at the end. Will it be very high on the ranking? We'll see. See what the other 6 episodes are like, and I'll see you guys next time for episode 3 of The Serpent. Be sure to tune in then. Thank you for watching this review, and also episode 1, if you watched that. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne YouTube channel. But I think when we are in specific time, but I do think when we are focusing on specific times, it plays out really well. I thought it was done well last time. Yeah, I gave it a 9 because the characterization was